What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Sports Muse podcast. We are on day 24 of 32 teams in 32 days, and we are kicking off the NFC North with the Chicago Bears. Guys, we are almost at 1,700 subscribers. I appreciate you guys that are showing support and love to this show. It means so much to me. If you're new to the show, I hope you guys enjoy, and please click like and subscribe. Just help this show grow. If you are not familiar with my previews, you could go back and watch the other 23 I've done. But to kind of give you a quick idea is we talk about additions and re-signings. We talk about departures, draft picks, strengths, weaknesses, some question marks for this team. And we talk about where we see this team, this year and into the future. When we look at this Bears team in 2020, they went 8-8. They got just another year of subpar play from the quarterback position. So for so long, and I don't know. I know a lot of people aren't Matt Nagy fans, but for so long, even before Matt Nagy, it's just been such mediocrity at the quarterback position. It's been a while, even with Jay Cutler, since they've had some energy and some excitement in that offense. So in 2020, they go 8-8. And it's going to be interesting to see how they finish in 2021. When we talk about additions and re-signings to this team, we start with Andy Dalton, Damon Williams, Damiere Byrd, Marcus Goodwin. They tag Allen Robinson, Jesse James, Ifedi, Mario Williams, Desmond Trufant, Tashawn Gibson, and Cairo Santos. Some of these guys, I love the idea of bringing back Allen Robinson on the tag to try to get him signed long term. And for some reason, I don't know. I think there's more to the story than what we know. But I'm a big Allen Robinson fan. The only kind of concern he's ever had his entire career was that knee injury, but he's come back full strength. He's an elite receiver. And look at the best quarterback he's ever played with in his career. I don't know. He's played with below average quarterbacks like forever. Even at Penn State, he didn't play with a top line guy. So I think Allen Robinson's elite. Hopefully they can get him signed long term. I like bringing in somebody like Andy Dalton, not to be your starter. The fact they got Justin Fields, which we'll talk about in length here in a little bit. But I think he's a really solid veteran quarterback. If he has to start the first 4 or 5 weeks, I think he can get that job done. Of course, you don't want him to be your long-term answer. Not that he would be, but I do like his ability to play and to mentor a young quarterback. Damon Williams is a nice piece to bring in case a David Montgomery injury happens. Tyreek Cohen's coming back from the knee injury. I like the idea of Jesse James. He brings in a little bit of depth at tight end room. And we know that, sometimes the Bears are going to line up and try to smash it right down your throat and control the clock. So I think having that third tight end and Jesse James does help. I like somebody like a Desmond Trufant. He's been a little bit up and down in his career, but I do like his ability and what he can bring to the back end of that defense. When we talk about departures, they lose Mitch Trubisky. If you're a Bears fan, that's tough. It's just tough to look at that guy day in and day out and think of what you could have had. So they lose Mitch Trubisky, Anthony Miller, they just traded, Cordarrelle Patterson, Charles Leno, Bobby Massey, Barkevius Mingo, Kyle Fuller, and Buster Skrine. So they lose a little bit of talent in that back end with Fuller and Skrine. I think the biggest thing when I look at this is, I think Anthony Miller is a talented guy. Clearly, kind of never really flourished. Maybe that's the quarterback position. Maybe that's just a talent thing in the Chicago Bears system. Patterson's a nice special teamers, but the biggest thing is you lose your 2 starting tackles. Now, that can be looked multiple ways. Is one, you lose 2 starting tackles, right? And then that's tough. The other way is this Chicago Bears offensive line was pretty bad last year. So maybe it's not a bad thing to lose your 2 starting tackles. I'm kind of in the middle here. It'd have been nice to keep one of them. But they end up drafting Tevin Jenkins, which we'll jump to here in a second. So hopefully they get some guys to step up. They let these guys walk because they are a little tight on salary cap, but also they didn't perform up to, paying these guys, not big money, but money more than you'd want to spend. Let's put it that way. When we jump to the NFL draft, my favorite pick in the NFL draft, and it's not even particularly close, is the fact that Bears get Justin Fields that low in the draft. I absolutely love it, man. He's a guy who is, I think, an elite quarterback coming out. I think, most years he could have been a first overall pick. I like him more than a Zach Wilson, who ended up going to the Jets. I think Justin Fields is going to be special, man. And I think the fact that he slipped in the draft, you put that chip on his shoulder. I love it. I absolutely love it, man. Not only just because of the player, just because now he's going to be even more hungry than he once was. So absolutely love Justin Fields, and it finally gets a little bit of excitement into this offense. In the second round, they get a guy who easily could have gone in the 20s in the first round, and Tevin Jenkins, tackle from Oklahoma. And I'm really curious about this one, because if he can step up, he's going to help that left side, blocking that blind side as far as the tackle goes. And that's so important, man. We know that's the highest paid offensive line position and one of the highest paid positions in football. So that's a really important position. And it's a tall task for a rookie. But I think he's a guy who is plug and play. I don't think he's necessarily going to play, a big number of snaps just because of need. I think he is ready. And then, like I said, the biggest question is, when do we see Justin Fields? Do we see him right off the bat? Do we see Andy Dalton, halfway through the season? I'm not exactly sure. But they also get, a Daz Newsome, who I'm also a fan of. But, the top two picks, I think, are going to play big snaps this year, and they're going to pay dividends. When we talk about team strengths, you look at this Bears team, and just as years past, it's the defense, right? I don't think they're as good as they've been in the past. If you go back 2-3 years, they were elite, probably best in the league. Now they are probably, a fifth, sixth, seventh best team. So I do think they are very talented in that end. So I don't want to get it twisted. You still have guys like Cleomac, who's absolutely elite. You have Roquan Smith, who I believe led the league in tackles last year. Absolutely love what he can do off ball. You have Eddie Goldman, you have Danny Trevathan, you have Robert Quinn, you have Eddie Jackson, who's such an underrated safety, man. That dude's an absolute ball hawk. So you're in good shape. But as far as some of the other positions, they are not as talented. And what I mean by that is some of those superstars that I mentioned are going to have to step up a little bit more to kind of take some of the pressure off some of the lesser talented guys. When we talk about weaknesses for the Chicago Bears team, I've mentioned it earlier, it's the offensive line. And when I look at this and how this team's constructed, it is much of a ball control kind of offense is what they're going to need to get, wins at the end of the day. They do have the playmaker in Allen Robinson, but outside of Allen Robinson, they don't have a ton. They have a Mooney, they have a Cole Kmet and those kind of guys, but you're not going to mistake them with the Kansas City Chiefs. Let's put it that way. And I think that's why it's going to be kind of important to get Justin Fields out there sooner rather than later, because he brings another dynamic element to this offense. And he's going to help with those 3rd and 5s just from his legs alone. He's going to help with the RPOs, and he's just going to help open up the playbook a little bit more. But when we talk about that offensive line is, can they hold up enough to let, David Montgomery pick up 4 yards a clip? Hopefully Tyreek Cohen comes back full strength. Are they going to be able to run some play action? That's kind of to be seen. And that's what I'm a little bit worried about when I look at this team. As far as biggest question marks, I wrote down a few. And one of the bigger ones that I think is kind of underrated when we talk about, so often we talk about like an Aaron Donald or a TJ Watt or a Khalil Mack, those elite pass rush, Myles Garrett. Opposite is important of them, because so often, like we've seen Cleomac basically his entire career, he's drawing double and triple teams, and he's getting chipped every single play. They're rarely ever, and if it does happen, it's probably a mistake that they one-on-one block Cleomac. So my question is, can Robert Quinn protect Cleomac in that way? Because another thing is, even he'll beat double teams, but then that quarterback escapes to the opposite side. So can Robert Quinn hold up enough to kind of keep that quarterback from rolling his side, kind of keep him in the middle, and then you let a Cleomac really, pin his ears back. Eddie Goldman can push the pocket from the inside. That's going to be an interesting one. And again, to jump to Justin Fields, so long. It's been stagnant. Can we see him out there sooner rather than later? I think he's probably more ready than most. I know there was concerns coming out in the draft process that his processing speed wasn't very fast. He kind of got stuck on the first, maybe even second read. I think that kind of gets overplayed, and I think that's a little bit more of Ohio State's playbook, a little bit more of how they run things. So I'm not overly concerned with it. Justin Fields caught a lot of flack against the Northwestern game. That offense didn't look very good, and he doesn't call the plays. He can only run what's called. So I don't know. It's interesting. And then my last one is just I'm so GD excited to see Allen Robinson with a real quarterback. And even Andy Dalton's the best quarterback he's ever played with, I think. But even with Justin Fields, look at Allen Robinson. He's been absolutely elite. Last year, he caught over 100 balls for 1,250 yards with just no quarterback, man. Nick Foles isn't good. I hate to break it to you guys. The fact he won a Super Bowl is just an anomaly. Mitch Trubisky speaks for himself. But the fact that, this guy keeps balling out, hopefully Justin Fields gets out there and just, we finally get to see Allen Robinson, kind of run his full route tree and actually get the ball on time. As far as record prediction, this is a tough one, man, because they're in a kind of a weird division. I think the Lions are going to be bad. I think that's an obvious one. The Packers are going to be good. The fact they got Aaron Rodgers back. The Vikings are another one. I don't have a great feel on the Bears and the Vikings as far as I think they can swing a little bit one way or another. I'm looking at it, and the hardest thing is, like I said, we don't know when we're going to see Justin Fields. I'm saying the Bears go 9-8, but I could see 10 wins, maybe 11 wins, but I could also see 6 wins. So there is a little bit of an element of unknown with this team just because of the most important position in football, in sports, quarterback position. We don't know what we're going to see and how soon we're going to see it. And like I said, that offensive line does worry me a little bit. So I'm going 9-8. But like I said, I think they can compete for that third wild card spot, that 7th seed in the NFC. But a lot of it's to be seen. So, you don't want to kind of get a little too amped up for this team, for Justin Fields, and kind of, forget some of the negatives this team has. As far as bold predictions, and this isn't, for my bold predictions, usually I take like a kind of shot in the dark, something I think can happen, but probably won't happen for this coming season. But this, I didn't put a number on it. I'm telling you, every team that passed on Justin Fields will regret it. And maybe it's this season, maybe it's, 5 years from now. I said before the NFL draft happened, I did a video of 5 bold predictions, and I said, 20 years from now, when it's all said and done, Trey Lance will be the best quarterback out of this draft class. I think Justin Fields is number 2. I think Justin Fields is going to be very, very talented. And the fact that if you would have got him at second, it would have been a great pick. But the fact they got him later in the draft, is just an absolute bargain. I think the guy's so immensely talented. So I think this guy's legit, man. I'm excited. So my bold prediction is every team that passed on Justin Fields will regret it. Guys, if you like the episode, please click like and subscribe. Like I said, we're approaching 1,700 subscribers. I appreciate you guys. Drop in a comment what you guys think. Do you think 9-8 is too low? Do you think it's too high? How do you think the Bears are going to finish this coming season? That's why I do this, man, to talk to you guys. So again, thank you so much for the support, and I will see you next time. Hey guys, thank you so much for sticking around for the entire video. Thank you for supporting the show, clicking that like button, subscribing, comments, all that fun stuff. If you could just take one more second and check out Rep Sports, check out Raise Energy. They are partnered with this podcast. They are help supporting me. So if you go and check them out, it's the best tasting energy drink on the market. 100% guaranteed. They have supplements, protein, pre-workouts, recovery, all that stuff. If you guys check them out and you use promo code SportsMuse when checking out, you get 15% off of your order. And who doesn't like, some money off of their purchase? That's awesome. So definitely check them out. And like I said, it helps support me. It helps support them. So please check them out, guys. And thank you again so much for sticking around.